Hello and welcome to Hanging Out with Howie tonight. We have with us Alex the Bubble from Cyprus, my wingman and very, very good friend, Brian S. Red. We have my road dog, John Cawley from Boston, Massachusetts.
Stop laughing.
And somebody that used to be from Boston, but now has become a hippie in California, Pastor Jake Brannon. And the soothsayer of some of the topics we'll be talking about, Mr. Bill Marsh from Carlisle Entertainment in Maryland. Thank you for being here, guys. So a friend of mine posted something which became very controversial as far as the thread when it was DJs, do we cross the line when obtaining music? So we are going to give our thoughts, our opinions, ideas.
I'm Baby Bear.
Oh, Jimmy's here.
Hi, Jimmy. Good to see you here, buddy.
I'm Baby Bear.
There you go. And so anyway, what happened was this particular client that this person was dealing with was
lots of dreams.
Let's see if we can
Been talking to people.
just mute him for a sec there. Yeah, he's having some. He does have. I've been talking to Jimmy. If you're of the praying sort or good thoughts, keep them up for James. He's a good guy. He's one of our closest friends. Anyway, back to the topic was this fella had, and we've all had this happen. People are listening to or actually watching. It's become extremely popular YouTube videos, and they love a song. They just have to have that at their event, but you can't get it anywhere legally. You can't buy it for some reason, or somebody made a mashup thing, or they may have seen something on TikTok or one of those other platforms, and you just can't buy it legally. And so he's just wondering, like, hey, do we cross that line and rip that thing and give them their one song? Thoughts?
The slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope.
This actually happened to me the other day.
Yes.
And it was for the first dance. The artist was from a well-known talent show on national TV, both in the States and here in the UK. And I thought, well, I'll check the albums. It wasn't released on any of his albums. It was an exclusive YouTube thing that he did in the studio. And for that reason, I admit, I may go straight to hell for this one, but I did actually download it, using a YouTube app, on the internet. But my idea was my basis was purely that, as you mentioned, it was only available on YouTube. You couldn't find it on iTunes. You couldn't find it even on his own website, as a download. And I checked on his own personal website. I looked on the YouTube video, see if there was a link underneath, which there wasn't. And for that reason, being as well, it was their first dance, I thought that makes it extra exceptional. It wasn't just a general request from a guest, throughout the night.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I did do that.
Yeah, no, I've done it.
Yeah,
but I've done it for that exact reason. Years ago, I had a bride that had to hear a live version of Keith Urban doing a Bryan Adams track. Well, guess what? It only lived on YouTube. This is 5, 6, 7 years ago. Somebody recorded him, and it was a video on YouTube, and I looked everywhere. And I hate to say this, and I don't mean to sound negative against artistry or labels, but if you have a big 10 million view hit on YouTube as a video, and you don't take the audio and put it on your own website, that's on you being a terrible business person. This kid should have taken that audio, or whatever label is equated with America's Got Talent or whatever, The Voice, whatever it is. That stuff, The Voice actually puts everything up on iTunes. So when they're watching these shows and go, oh, what a great father-daughter dance, you actually have an outlet. But I'm sorry, if there's no other way to make a client happy, and by the way, mine, I ended up playing it off my iPad, off YouTube live. I didn't even bother to rip it because it was just like, okay, this isn't going to rip, or I didn't know how to rip it, or whatever it was. But I think when clients put you in that corner, you just have to tell them. I mean, I've even told clients ahead of time, try not to give me links to YouTube because it's illegal to download YouTube songs. So let's try and find songs that either I already own or that you can find on Amazon. And now they're all going to Spotify. Well, guess what? Not everything on Spotify is as readily available as the, iTunes, Amazon, those things. So I think we're in uncharted waters a little bit. I'm curious to hear what other people think.
I have used Spotify a couple of times.
Wait, hold on. Eric, we're recording right now, please.
Sorry.
Okay, Bill, you are the soothsayer of legal stuff. I pretty much know where you're going to go.
Well, I'm going to go down the path of it depends. And as Alex and Jay have already said, if it's not available in any other way, then I will find a way to acquire the necessary song. Am I going to go and download an entire playlist of songs that are related to that song? No. But if I need a song and I need to find a way to acquire a song, I will. I was talking with somebody the other day, and I've said in here, I actually signed up for an Amazon UK account at one time because I needed a Westlife song that was only released in the UK. The client thought it actually was on the Up soundtrack because somebody took a whole bunch of different ballads, used the ballad montage from the movie Up, and dubbed the songs, dubbed a variety of songs into that video clip. So they thought it was actually on the Up soundtrack. No. And it was one of the very few Westlife hits that they didn't release in the US. Even on the album that song is on, it's not available in the US on the US version of the album. It's kind of weird. And so I signed up for Amazon UK. I got the song that way. There are workarounds. Like Alex was saying, you go to YouTube, sometimes they'll put a link on it. If you have enough time, email the artist. Find a way to reach out to the artist through their Facebook page, social media, whatever. And you never know. I have another, repeated story about getting a mashup that I thought was made by a certain guy with the initials JT. It turned out it was made by another guy with the initials AW. But I received an email back saying, cool, thanks. Enjoy it at your wedding, JT, with a link to get the audio. But it wasn't JT. It was AW. He was just pulling my chain because I thought I was reaching out to JT. So if you got to get it, you got to get it. I'm a big fan of doing it as legally as possible and giving the artist and the label their little pennies out of my dollar. But at the same time, I'm here to do business for my client.
Understood. John from Boston.
Sure. If you have to get the song, you have to get the song. I mean, it's easier now because material is more readily available. But back in the day when, we didn't have an Amazon and there wasn't a YouTube, and, we would ask the client, can you provide this song? Do you have a copy? How did you hear it? Where'd you get it? Oh, I have it in my MP3 player. Great, let me borrow that because there isn't any way for me to find it, buy it, or acquire it in the time necessary for the event. So if they get a way to get it, then it's they're providing it, and we're playing it on their behalf, so to speak. Nowadays, most you can find alternate versions. But as you say, if they're really particular and they have to have this one gung ho line in the sand, then you just have to get a copy of it for the day. You know, and maybe it's something you don't have, never heard of, and eventually you end up liking the artists and, you know, making some purchases down the road. But you got to have the one you need when you need it. That's just facts.
Okay, now we go to the real professor of rock and music in general, Mr. Brian S. Red.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you on having the show on Just Checking News is the most like C-SPAN call-in shows. It's pretty cool how people just kind of come in and say weird things, and like, we're doing it. It's beautiful. It reminds me of C-SPAN, and there were some funny gag reels about that. If you go on
that's
YouTube.
nice.
But anyway, John has pretty much got it. What I'll do with a client when they'll say, well, I want a specific song. Well, I need to see if I can find it. And if I can't find it, I say, look, I can't find that song. Is there anything else? No. Okay. Well, I guess we're in a predicament here. If you can somehow provide me the song, that's great, but I have no way of getting it. I just play stupid with them. Oh yeah, no problem. I can grab. No, I don't do that. So that's their responsibility. If they want to go that way, fine. You do it. You find it. So I gotta have an MP3. So you know that's what I need. And if you can get it, great. Then you know, provide it for me, and I'll be happy to play it for you. But I don't break the law for my clients.
Can't you just play it off of this? I'm being in the client.
I understand. Yeah, right.
Can't you just play it right, you know, right off of YouTube.
No. This is how things are going. This is what we do.
You have two computers there.
Yeah, no, can't do that. Sorry. They have to provide me the track. And if they can't do it, they need an alternate song. I mean, don't be that weird. If you're going to be that weird, then be willing to, you know, figure it out for yourselves. Yeah. But yeah, I'm telling them right off the bat, hey, look, everything's legit here. I don't know anything about that. I don't know even how you do it. You're just going to have to handle it. And, you know, if this is something you really want, if you can provide it for me, that's great. I just don't have it, nor do I have a way to get it.
Right.
And they're fine with that. I'm trying to think. It's been a long time because I know I did videos on this a long time ago because something came up. And it was some like gospel song that some local artist did that never like put anything out anywhere. Because what these people do a lot is, we found it on YouTube. Not like the old days, we're like, hey, this song's very meaningful to us. No, it's not meaningful to us. We just found it on YouTube because we had to pick a duck because we were looking at this list of songs we had to pick and we filled the list. There's not usually a lot of meaning to this stuff. So look,
right.
I can't find it. Do you have an alternate? No. Okay. Well, then if you can find it, I can play it. Otherwise we need an alternate. This is all there is to it. So I take the responsibility off of me with this.
That's how I do it too. 9 times out of 10, they will budge a little bit. The second choice, that sort of thing. Can't you, you know, just play it off of? And I go, no, I can't. You know, it's, you know, I'm above board and blah, blah, blah. So I will do what has been suggested by several people here. If you can provide me a copy of it, I'm happy to play it. I mean, I think that's the way to go.
And then screen it before you actually drop it. Make sure there's not some auto insurance commercial.
Not only do I screen it, I run it through my malware software first to make sure they're not affecting my computer.
There was a client one time, they wanted, you know, the song by Paul McCartney, Maybe I'm Amazed.
Yes.
They wanted the version by Faces. And for some reason at the time, I couldn't find it. So I said, hey, look, I'm sorry. Can we do the Paul McCartney version? Like, Paul McCartney does a version of that song? I'm like, yeah. And we just did it. So I remember that. That was a long time ago, but I remember that happened.
There's a version on YouTube of that, of Faces on it.
Yeah, probably.
And the sad thing is, the other thing you might want to try, because again, we're all different in the way we approach this. I don't think it's not a hard, fast rule. I get the hard, fast rule of this is illegal or this is wrong. But, you know, I get the hard, fast rule of the customer's always right and you do everything you can. So
but the customer's not always right. They're very wrong.
I'm not going to debate that. I'm not going to even get into that debate. It's the point of that expression. Yeah, but Brian, the point of the expression is when the client's paying you money that you pay your bills with and you survive with, and they're going to get you more clients, you kind of walk whatever path your business motto is. One of the things that I used to say in the early days of YouTube was, here's the problem with taking songs off YouTube. The audio quality is substantially lower because you're listening to it through computer speakers or earbuds. It will sound terrible if I play it through my system. And that was about 90% would go, oh, we didn't think about that. You know what? Let's find another song. And it's a great way to skirt the issue of I'll get it or I won't get it. I made it a don't even approach YouTube because of the problem with, they're recording it at such a compressed rate. And that for years worked. Or it was, we heard this in college. Do you have a copy of it? Yeah, we have a CD. Great. Can you send me the MP3 of it? But yeah, it's tricky now. By the way, last night I used Tidal. And we really haven't touched on that. I probably looked up 30 songs on Tidal. They were all there. Like everything I looked, weird deep dive tracks, they were all on Tidal. So I think you're going to see people moving forward. I promise me when I say this, streaming from all platforms will be the thing we're talking about 6 months, a year from now. And I mean, talk about it like specific devices are made to only stream music.
That's an Easter egg, if I ever heard an Easter egg before. A guy who happens to be a demonstrator for a major manufacturer.
No, I mean, but it's all I hear. No, I'll give you that much. It's all I have to answer. Every time a question is asked of me lately, it's like, what do you think about Tidal streaming? I'm like, I don't use Tidal. Well, here's a code. Try it out and tell us what you think. And everyone is moving in that direction. And I'm hearing it on forums a lot more. I'm hearing people say, man, I'm using BeatSource. I'm using Tidal. The next, people used to use Spotify. Remember a few years ago, Spotify was in the game of streaming for DJs. But I think the YouTube thing, just to make everyone feel better, you should almost put it in your contract. Make it a clause in your contract. Due to legalities and quality of sound, I'm not allowed to attempt to get music from sources such as YouTube or TikTok or whatever. Legitimate, purchasable copies will certainly be made, in advance if available. If not, I can't get it. It doesn't all exist.
I'll admit I've done it on a few occasions, but only for something like that first dance where you're only going to do a minute and a half, and it's the first song they hear. They don't know any better yet until it's like, but if a guest came up to me, no, if they put it on, hey, this is a must play. Sorry, no, I'll do you a solid on your first dance, but that's it. And a guest to me is a guest. This is not their party. So no, I'm not going out of my way for you. I'm sorry. If I have it legally, I'll play it.
Well, and it's a good point about chord. Don't have the chord.
That's a really good point about the first song of the evening. They don't know any different. I never really even thought of that, but it's true. I mean,
it is true. And then they'll have that. Wow, this is getting
everything else sounds better. Yeah.
What's that magician doing back there?
You can always trade up, but it's hard to trade down. It's hard to do that. Yes. With a lot of things in life. Yes.
Now, Brian and had already said it, and kind of Jay alluded to as well. I do make it very clear in both my initial consultation with clients and also in a final planning meeting that it would be better to make sure that all of their music is found in a legitimate way, and that I will pretty much only use music that I'm able to acquire and so forth. I kind of make all those disclaimers partly because it's true. I mean, I'd really rather never have to do cross over that line. And when I shared this, I said, is the line straight? Is the line curved? Or is the line a little wavy? And to me, the line is straight, but
but $20 is $20.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I'll name two of the songs that I acquired. in an ill-mannered way. And one doesn't even really technically exist. It was a Keith Whitley, Alison Krauss mashup of When You Say Nothing at All.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it any other way.
That'd be worth listening to.
Yeah, exactly.
I like When You Say Nothing at All.
Well, and see, here's the thing. The couple put When You Say Nothing at All as their first dance, and Alison Krauss is the artist. It wasn't until
Ronan Keating did it too.
Huh?
Ronan Keating did it too. It's a nice version.
It's a great version.
Yeah.
And so the client said, you know, we just found out that there's a great duet, and we'd rather have the duet because then it's like the two of us singing to one another. And I quickly said, because I'd already dealt with this before, no, that's not really a duet. That's something somebody made of Keith Whitley singing it in concert only, and Alison Krauss on her album. And I said, it's actually pretty terrible, but if that's what you really have to have, here's another, and it's funny you brought up the Ronan Keating. I said, here's another suggestion. Let me play a verse of Alison Krauss and a verse of Ronan Keating, and then kind of mix through the two at the end.
Right.
And they were like, okay, well, we'll listen to that. And they didn't like it because he had an Irish accent.
So, and the vocals?
Yeah.
Never picked that up.
So that was that. And then the other one was actually like a I want to say Vietnamese string quartet version of Canon ND that was like 7.5, 7:45.
Nice.
Long. And the client needed that because they needed it that long. I said, well, why don't I take my 6-minute version
and loop it?
Well, I wasn't even going with looping it. I said, and we'll let that play through. And then when it's time for the bride to come in, I'll have a cue point set up to begin at like the big crescendo.
Right.
Uh-huh. And they were like, well, no, but that's what the 7-minute version already does. Okay.
Awesome clients.
Well, yeah. And they were Asian, so I wasn't going to really insult them on that either.
Right.
Because for all I know, they might be
trying to do cancel Vietnam. Come on, we got to get our Vietnamese quartet in here.
So, and that was quite a long time ago, but yeah. So 2
clients are fun.
So, Alex, you're the one that suggested this topic last night. How did it work out for you?
Yeah, they were, excuse me. They were more than happy. Also, the basis was it was an agency booking. So I had no contact with it was actually a double wedding. So it was 2 brides, 2 grooms. I didn't have any contact with them until 3 days beforehand. So I didn't know about this request literally until days beforehand. And it wasn't until I then came back, I went online, and I looked for the, I looked for the artist, and I got back to the bride, and I said, as you mentioned before, I said, guys, where did you find it from? You know, oh, it's only on YouTube. And I did actually say to them, okay, this might be difficult. Do you have a backup? And they said, look, it's taken us 6 months, you know, for the brides, these 2 brides, to decide on the one song, because they did the first dance. Both couples did their first dance to the same song. So it wasn't like they were separate songs. So it's like, well, you know, you got that song, you got this song. So it was a little bit more in-depth as to how to go about it, you know, with regards to, like, you know, do you choose another song? Well, it's taken you 6 months for you both to agree on this. We've got 48 hours for you to agree on another one. Let's just try and like source this song that you've already chosen. But no, it went fine. But as Jay mentioned before with the quality, yeah, for sure. You know, when I looked on the graphics, it was, you know, the EQ meter was half as, you know, only halfway up, you know, than it would normally would be my downloaded stuff. So yes, there is that big difference as well. But again, given the circumstances, it's a one-off, you know, it was a one-off. And, you know, again, whether this is going to be more in the future, you know, obviously these TV shows have been around for the last 10 years, but now with more Spotify and things like this, is this going to be a recurring thing where people want something that isn't the famous, you know, the usual classics of maybe Ed Sheeran, you know, which seems, you know, which at one point everybody had an Ed Sheeran song for their first dance. You know, is this something that's going to be happening in the future? People want something that's unusual, different, not available anywhere else, shall we say?
Yeah, I think so. I think people they've been to so many weddings. I want mine to be different.
My wedding on Saturday night, the bride gave me 3 Spotify playlists she put together. Because I gave her my site to put all her music on. And instead she goes, here's what I want. So I literally sat here looking at her lists on Spotify while I'm on another computer dragging tracks into crates. And I had everything she had requested. And I was like, oh, okay. But I know I won't give a number because I don't have an actual number. But I know a lot of DJs who are working with a controller, a laptop, and an iPad. And they're playing direct off that playlist on Spotify for like cocktail, ceremony, even dinner music. And their attitude is, why am I going out of my way to get music if I don't have it? The music already exists. The bride already picked it. It's in the order that she seems to want it. And I'm like, yeah, but you could put it in a BPM order. And, instead of having a slow song followed by a thrash song followed by a slow song, like that's sort of your job. So I've butted heads with people about the Spotify issue, but I don't think it's going away. I mean, I've heard DJs say as many as 90% of their clients give them Spotify playlists. This is what we want for the wedding. We've been cultivating this for 2 years. Here it is. So now we're either going to have to disseminate into our files with theirs or take the easy way out and show up with an iPad and play Spotify playlists offline, which is legal, except for public performance. So that's the illegal aspect. But if you have a $10 a month account, it allows you to play offline playlists. So, I mean, what's different between that and a record pool that I pay $10 a month and I can download 1 million songs? How can that be? How can they both be legal or both illegal?
I have a problem with that. I think I'd rather own the music and move it over, like you said, and then put it in a sensible BPM order or key or something. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do as DJs. I mean, and I watched one of those, Tech Man or one of those things on YouTube that does all this weird stuff. And he said that what has happened these days is there's almost like a dumbing down of listening to music, because if they're listening on their phone with, their 5 and below headphones or the dollar store headphones, how good is it really? And he actually analyzed files that have been ripped, like from YouTube, and they said it's less than 92. Which we as DJs, our standard is usually at minimum, if you're not playing wave, is 320, but less than 92 is going to sound terrible. But to them, they're used to those dollar store headphones, those earbud things. So, gosh, you can go to a venue with Gemini speakers or something, and they'd be like, wow, this is great.
I had this talk with Chris Cox in Vegas, and I said, I predict in 5 to 10 years, the quality of music that we can get our hands on will be subpar to today. And he goes, why? I said, because the next generation of producers grew up with these. They've been listening to compressed, variable bit rate, which is what iTunes has been sending out for its entire career, which just means when the song's really quiet, the bit rate could drop down to 10 kilobytes. Versus 320. So I think we're going to see the ramifications of earbuds and, like you say, 5 below headsets, and it's not going to bite us as hard as we think, because the people on the dance floor don't know any different either. So it's going to come down to, I might as well go to Walmart and buy my speakers because nobody can hear well. Their sense of quality is shot. Why am I going to look at all of us. We're all buying great gear. A lot of us are using the Evolve 50s. The sound is amazing. But I got a dance floor full of half-deaf people going from car audio to earbuds and thinking, oh, this sounds amazing.
Mm.
Yep. Well, we'll be the only ones that remember how good music used to sound.
Yeah.
We know what it's capable of. It's they don't hear it like we do. And to us, it matters, and that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those, like, hey, well, nobody's going to know. And then you say to yourself, but I'll know. And that's integrity to me.
But let me ask, especially with Brian in the room, because I'm clearing out my hard drive now, and I'm finding those like low bitrate songs and going to get rid of them. But there's a couple of songs I have that are like 192. Mm-hmm. And I swear when I play them, I can't tell they're not Wave or 320, at least in my ears. Like I've put them up against the same song at 320 and I'm like trying to A-B them. Do you guys ever run into that where just because it says 320?
Mm-hmm.
Some are encoded better. Yeah. Even at lower bit rate.
Yeah.
Whatever software they use, whatever EAC converter made it feel less compressed. It sounds as full,
To everyone's point on this whole thing, which is a completely different conversation, but MP3, Windows Audio, all that crap was made for near field listening. So it was for personal listening devices. So when the first iPods came out, it was really, the smallest, data crunch you could get to get as many songs as you could on the iPod. Mm-hmm. And because it was near field, it sounded fine. But when you start broadcasting that same file over a PA, it changes. That's when you can hear the difference.
Yeah.
So,
on your headphones, maybe at home, maybe even on your monitors in your studio, it might sound fine. But once you put it over a PA next to a quality file, you may hear the difference. Chase says, no, that's okay. Do you?
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying no, you will.
I totally agree.
I'm not saying you won't hear the difference.
No.
When I'm saying no, because I'm in my head going, I've played crappy MP3s through full PAs in clubs, and they sound terrible. And then you play a WAV file or a FLAC or something that's pretty lossless, and it's night and day. But you've had to do it. You've had to show clients like, here's an MP3 file played through a $200,000 system, and it sounds like crap. So I'm fully agreeing with you. Yeah. No. Low will sound bad out of anything but maybe our systems. And even then, you'll usually notice a little difference.
Well, for near field, I mean, you're pretty safe. Home listening, even in the car, it's like whatever, the low bit rate stuff is fine. But once you start trying to throw them over, PA speakers, any PA speaker, you're really going to start to hear the what am I looking for?
Compression,
degradation, or the de-evolution of audio. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's going to degrading. It's going to sound degrading. It's not going to sound as well as it would. The other thing I would say, your prediction is interesting about everything sounding worse in the future. I know that we are a capitalist society and we will go for anything that makes us money. So we're always looking for a thing. Right now, hi-fi is not a thing. High fidelity is not a thing. But when I was a kid, it was. Having the cool Macintosh stereo, you were the king.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I didn't own it. I didn't know anybody with enough money to own one, but that was the stuff. Nowadays, nobody cares.
And all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, it was get the best quality. Bose came out, and Klipsch, and
I had.
You wanted all that stuff.
I had heresies. So I'm predicting the opposite. The future will be all about high fidelity because they're going to come up with this really cool new file format that's going to be just a standard, and audio files will become a new thing. I think it'll come back. Dumb things come back like records. Why wouldn't that come back too?
Well, Apple's just started using Atmos DB.
Right.
GB, not DB. What's the not DB? What's the friggin' the best audio? Dolby. Atmos Dolby.
Yeah, DB.
Atmos Dolby. And they have a new thing where Apple Music is requesting that all music come in with what's called spatial reserve, meaning that with earbuds or the right headphones or the right sound system, you can physically move sound around you. So while sitting here, I could say I want the drums to sound from behind me.
Yeah, quadraphonic from the 60s.
Right. That's what
it is.
Right. That's feeding your point where it's now moving. So in real time, you're moving like I want the guitar to be above me to the right. and it will be. The effect, though, will really be, at least for initially, really more based on headphones. And they're touting it as something, a reason to upgrade to the Apple AirPods, the Pros, because they're really good at this.
Yeah.
It's going to be funny.
I think Floyd Rose was doing that too.
Yeah, there was talk of them being involved.
They had some headphones that a show I went to a while back.
Saying any music you send us has to have this ability. Because we looked at Atmos a couple years ago, and I just was like, what's the big deal? And then I heard a system with it, and it's like you're walking through the sound almost. It's pretty amazing.
There's always going to be a thing.
I think it was a year or two ago where there was a movement that Neil Young he was part of a consortium that put millions of dollars into a format that's even better than lossless.
Didn't they have their own little players and everything?
Yeah, they did.
What was it called?
The player was like $350.
Yeah, I think Nest. NES.
Something?
That's
it.
Nest.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
And I don't know whatever happened to it, but
well, I know on Guardians of the Galaxy 2, at the end of the movie, not trying to do a spoiler for you, they find a Nest unit with a bunch of 70s tracks on it, and they give it to Star-Lord. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Done it in a pawn shop.
Yeah, I mean, with the advent of vinyl, people wanting that nostalgia of, man, don't you think that hey, look, I paid $30 for an album. I paid this much for a turntable. Don't you think they're going to want that Marantz or some?
I believe something's going to happen. I mean, you can only invest so much money in this stuff with a $50 Crosley that you picked up at TJ Maxx at the the holiday gift section. There's going to come a time when you're going to say, look, I've got several thousand invested in this. Maybe you ought to get an audiophile style turntable and run it through something. And what's a good amp? Oh, tube amp? What's that? It's going to happen, I think. Maybe not now, but eventually. Because, look, again, capitalist society, digital stuff is easy to get. We need to make something really popular that people need to buy that's not easy to get. And what would that be? Hardware. That kind of hardware would be something that people want to pay money for.
Last year was the biggest selling year for CDs and vinyl in 20 years.
Yes. Yeah.
And even I'm hearing people talk about CDs with a sense of nostalgia. Same with cassette tapes. Because they're trying to get older cars and they're like, what's that? That's a cassette player. What does that do? I tried to get my iPhone in and it won't hold it.
Yeah, it doesn't fit an iPhone in the slot.
No kidding.
I don't know. I think you're on. I think, Howie, it'll come back around.
I do too. I believe there'll be a certain percentage of society that will do it because I don't know. The used record store that we have here is kind of like the one that we went to in Vegas when you first took me to, Rolling Smoke Barbecue.
Oh yeah.
It's an old department store and it's just filled. But it's always packed. People going through stuff.
Well, in my mind, yeah. In my mind,
I'm thinking the mall is empty, but the record store is full.
I'm thinking to myself in my brain, hey, you know what? Nobody wants high fidelity equipment anymore. So I'm going to go on Facebook Marketplace and I'm going to find that Macintosh stuff that no one wants anymore at these discount prices. Wrong. That stuff is still
holding the value.
Roof.
Oh, they are.
$5,000, $10,000 for dumb stuff like a preamp, and I'm like, what? I mean, this stuff is outrageous. So there's a cult following for it, but a lot of it's going to be nostalgic stuff, but a lot of it is going to be new stuff because hey, capitalism. I believe it's going to happen.
Well, I have a Marantz system, and I was offered $1,500, and I was a little tempted, and I was like, no, if you think it's worth that much, it's paid for. I'm enjoying it. I'm keeping it. Screw it.
Right. No, I got rid of my heresies. I probably shouldn't have, but they were just taking up room, and my life was different. I didn't need that in my living room anymore. I wanted to look like a grown up. But I do. My brother has them. I can get them back if I need to. But even like the 1200s, I mean, people are going after vintage stuff, and vintage stuff is cool, but you can only have so much vintage stuff until you've got to get some new stuff. And that's when You like records. Yeah, you can great dig, but now they're doing reprints of things. I think it's going to be the same thing with some of this audio stuff. And it's going to be kind of like the car stereo thing was in the 90s, who has the loudest one. People are going to, I don't know. I just predict, just because, we are a capitalist society and people make money where they can, this might be a thing. So we might go up in quality. I don't know.
I think so, because it doesn't cost that much more to go up in quality.
They will charge a lot more to go up in quality.
Right. They may spend $5 more in the electronic, tiny parts, but then, it'll be hundreds, if not thousands more to the, retail,
Just a thought.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And leave your thoughts down below. And as always, these are just our opinions and ours only. Thank you again for being here. Good night, all.
Good night.